channel, thank you very much for subscribing. I really appreciate it. If you've stuck around for a while, thank you also. Y'all have been a big help. Y'all have really helped this channel grow. So tell your friends about it. If you have people that like boats, fishing, trucks, anything like that, tell them to take a look at the channel. As you can see right here, we have another outboard. The other outboard I had was the Johnson 25 horsepower, which was a big hit. It's up to, I think, 11,000 views right now, which I thought would never happen. I know a lot of channels have more than that, but for me, that's a pretty big milestone. So it's obvious what y'all like to see, the outboard, and well, also the Cummins over there is doing pretty good too. But I found another outboard here. What we have right here is a 1973 Mercury. This is a 50 horsepower. It went by the model number 500. This has been sitting in a field for who knows how many years. There's all sorts of just debris. Everything looks to be frozen on it. I don't know if the engine's frozen. I haven't taken the cowl off yet. I did get this one for free, but like I said, it's been abandoned for many, many years. And let's see if we can get it going. All right. Also, you might notice this is a little bit different camera. I'm using the Hero Session 4 because the good old GoPro 8 Black with the media mod went for a swim in the lake. If you notice a little bit change in the video, that's why. Anyway though, here's our 1973 Mercury. But everything looks to be good. And look how this motor turns too. It swivels like it should. It is 100% free. It's not locked up in any form or fashion. It does not have power tilt. It does have the lift assist, it looks like. I'm not really familiar with Mercuries too much. This is going to be my first Mercury project. I usually deal with the OMCs, Johnson's, Evinrude, things like that. But I'm really excited to get into this 50 horsepower here. One thing to note, I guess in 72 and 73 was a transition year. And when I was trying to figure out what engine this was, obviously you go by the serial number down here, but also looking at the front plate on this, if it says Mercury Marine, that's going to be 73. If it does not, and it says, now I don't know how to pronounce this, Kiefer? I don't know, probably wrong. Anyway, if it says Kiefer Mercury on it, that's going to be a 72 or earlier. It did come with the wiring harness here, but as you can see, I actually put this on there to see if it would fit. It's filled up with mud, looks like from mud daubers, things like that. And I mean, it's just all cracked. I mean, this is just no good. It's going to have to be rebuilt. It's been wire netted before. We're going to have to rebuild this whole thing and go from there. But that's not on the top of our list right now. I'm glad we have it, but we're just going to kind of throw this aside for now. This side, you can see it's smooth. It looks good. I'm thinking actually we can use a pressure washer on this and make it look pretty decent. And a little bit of paint. I bet we can get this thing looking brand new. Has the old fuel connector in it, which seems to be frozen in there. Throttle cable. You can see it doesn't appear to be working like it should. And the shift cable, same story there. So let's do what we've been wanting to do on this and get this cowling off. And I can already see there looks like a ground wire that is not connected to anything. I'm kind of curious as to what we're going to find once we go. Oh, there we go. Once we start digging. Oh man! All right. There's the inside of the cowling. All the noise deadening stuff from the early 70s finally coming apart. Plenty of asbestos in there, I'm sure. All right. So right off the bat, what we can see, compression numbers have been written here. It says 124, 125. That's a pretty good sign. I can see 120 written right up in there. Oh man, look at this. This is a rat's nest. I mean, literally, look. The wires have disintegrated so much that there's no insulation on them whatsoever. Goodness gracious. This is a rat's nest. This is a basket case. I mean, look at all that. There's no insulation. The starter wire is not hooked up. And just all these wires have zero insulation on them whatsoever. Every wire on this engine is going to have to come off. Mud dauber's nest. Man. And to a lot of people, this engine is junk. It's trash. But the reality is, this is a good engine. I mean, these don't have a lot of electronics on them. You can get this going. Here's a Mercury switch, and it's actually liquid mercury in there. Will allow the motor to start when it's down, and then when it's up, it'll disable the ignition. Here's a distributor, and well, that looks to be okay. Actually, the wires right here, well, they're not missing any insulation. The ground strap, that's there, kinda. That's going to be replaced. But yeah, the wire looks like that goes to the Mercury switch right here to more than likely the ground is just hanging by. It looks like a thread. Let's go ahead and take the top cowling off. And this just pops off on these like that. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay, so I called this a rat's nest earlier. This is actually a literal rat's nest. I really want to put my hands in there. Like I said, I haven't been into this engine before, so nothing's flying out. So up, old wasp nest up in there. Good Lord. Okay, well, here we go. Here's a full look at the inside of this engine. So the wiring up top seems to be okay, but everything else, here's another ground right here that went to something. That is 100% toast. All right, so this is this is what we call a project. Looks like here's the manual activation for the choke. Pull this up. Oh, well, say that. Looks to be froze. Pull that up, and that activates that linkage right there, which it's frozen. Which I imagine everything on these carbs are going to be extremely frozen and have to come off. But we knew that going in. Here's what the throttle cable comes in right here and goes to this arm, which is completely busted. This arm is broke. This is a metal arm that goes to the distributor, and you open your throttle, pushes back, also in turn opens the throttle, and that is just completely broken. So we're going to need a whole new throttle arm. We might have to find one off a parts engine somewhere if we can find it. That's if we can find it. And well, that cable wasn't even hooked up. That's where it's supposed to be hooked up down there, and it was just kind of laying free. First of all, let's go ahead and get these spark plugs out of here and see what they look like. That bottom one looks like that might be fun to get out. All right, these plugs don't look terrible. I don't see any, I mean, they're dark, but I don't see anything that is too terribly concerning on that one. Got the same with that one. And I have to see if these are the correct plugs for this. It's very, some people throw anything in engines or something they think is better or whatever. At least these are all the same plug though. We have all the plugs out, and they all look decent. They're all going to get replaced, but none of them look crazy. Looks like the number 2 plug has more on it than anything else. All right, what I want to do now, we have all the plugs out. I want to spin this engine over and see if it's free, if it feels locked up, or what's going on with it. Spins over. We have a free engine. That's an excellent sign. All right, Next thing I want to do, we're going to spray some seafoam deep creep down in the engine and let it sit there for a minute. All right, so if you do find a motor like this and you're wondering what are the first steps to bringing this thing back to life, this is by no means the way to do it. This is just the way I do it, and it's worked for me. Normally, what I would have done before I turned it over is spray some kind of penetrating oil in these cylinders. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spray PB Blaster. I don't know where my seafoam deep creep is. I guess I used it all. That's actually what I used to free up that locked up engine on the John Deere. But PB Blaster will do the same thing. Anything that gets lubrication down in these cylinders. All right, that piston was all the way up on number 4, so move it back some. Alright, I can see the piston up here. Alright, so we've let that sit in there for a minute. Now we're going to roll the engine over again by hand and just kind of let that coat the cylinder walls. Should be able to see the pistons move in there. Yep, there comes. You can see all the pistons doing what they should be doing. So that's good. I like to do it by hand first, especially if you don't know where the engine has been stored, how it's been stored, that sort of thing. I like to do it by hand as opposed to just going straight for the starter and spinning this motor over, just because if you have some rings that are touching a cylinder wall, that sort of thing, with no lubrication at all, I don't want to go spinning it over with the starter. I'd rather just do it real lightly, let that penetrating oil get worked in there just very slowly by hand before we start cranking on it. Alright, so what we're going to do now, I have my jump starter right here. Basically all I'll do is just turn it on, these leads become hot, and we can jump the engine right here without having to use jumper cables. Alright, so go ahead and use the ground. This is where it normally grounds anyway. Right there. Make sure that you clear the flywheel. You don't want the flywheel catching that. And then go ahead and this is our lead right here. This is where your hot wire is going to go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the jump pack on, and we're going to send power to the leads. Alright, that click means that we have power going to the leads, and we don't have anything. I mean, nothing. This starter is completely dead. There's our starter. Now we're going to take this to Taylor Electric just down the road, who we've used before, and get them to rebuild it for us. If they can. If this thing is just not totally trashed. Alright, so we pulled all the wires off of the switch box here, and look at the back of this switch box. This thing is just gone. It's toasted. I wanted to pull this off to get to the carburetors. It turns out a lot of stuff is connected to this carb plate, including the solenoid for the choke, and all the wires for the switch box run through a loom. Actually, this loom right here. Also, there's some kind of buildup on there. It's almost like it's hard as a rock. I mean, it's almost like some kind of fiberglass resin or something on there. Alright, so here we are. There's the choke plates. So this actually has plates that just cover the covers the carbs. So looking at this more, it's not terrible. I've definitely seen worse, but I have seen better. Alright, so our next step from here is going to be to get these carburetors off, and we're going to have to pull the distributor as well. So we're going to read up on that, because that is all new to me. I am not well versed in that sort of thing. That's okay. That's what YouTube is for, which is probably why some of y'all are watching this even. But for right now, we're going to end this video here, because we're going to take that starter to the shop and even see if we can get it fixed. Because before I go too far on this, I want to see if I have compression. Because if I don't have compression and we have to tear this motor down, to rebuild it, that's going to be a whole nother set of choices we're going to have to make. So until then, keep an eye out for the next one. Go back and watch the other videos on the Johnson if y'all like videos and outboard motors. And thanks for watching. Hit that thumbs up button if you like this, and think about subscribing too, because we have so much on this channel. We have this motor, the prior videos, we have the Cummins, and of course we have the good old Lund over there. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and we'll see y'all soon.